YouTube. A lot of you guys have started to take notice of the fact that I've been a little bit quiet, and I've even had some people that have become my friends because of YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook reaching out saying, hey man, are you okay? Is everything cool? Like they can kind of tell that I've been a little bit off. So today I want to kind of just address that. It's probably not super manly of me to do it, but I don't really care at this point. I'm jumping into that today. This is not a car video, guys. This is a Jared video. I'm going to kind of empty my backpack on you guys. So if you guys just follow me for the car and the car alone, you probably want to jump out of here right now. But for those of you that follow me because you've said that I'm real and genuine with you guys, I'm going to get really real and really genuine with you guys. So we'll roll the intro real quick. We'll jump into it. Let's do that now. Thank you so much for joining me for another video today, guys. If you guys are still with me after that intro, that was kind of probably a little bit of a ejecto-cito for a lot of people. I appreciate you sticking in there to watch this one. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Like I mentioned, I've had some people take notice of the fact that not only did I only upload 2 videos last month, I've just kind of not been me. I haven't been nearly as social. I've kind of been a little bit of an introvert recently, a little bit of a hermit, if you will. And so I want to kind of address that. And really quickly, I also want to thank my wife, who pretty much told me the other day, you need to just make a video about the stuff you're dealing with and get it out there. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Your followers like you. They talk about how you're real. They talk about how you're genuine. So go and be real and go and be genuine with your viewers. So that's what we're doing today, guys. I apologize. I'm going to try to keep this video from getting long, but there's some stuff that I want to get out there, kind of get it off my chest. I've been watching some kind of self-help stuff recently. I've been trying to find a way to deal with this stuff internally and kind of, you know, put it aside, get it behind me, get closure, if you will. And something that I listened to on a podcast that my wife sent me the other day was they basically said that if you own your story, if you own the things that are holding you back or keeping you down or whatever it might be, if you own those things and if you put them out there kind of into the cosmos or say them to the world, and that's what you guys are, is my world, they kind of lose power over you and they lose strength, and it helps you kind of move past those things. And so today, for those of you that will stick through this video and watch this for me, thank you. Really quickly before I get into it, I'm not looking for like sympathy here. I'm not saying you guys can't leave like positive comments or whatever. I'm not saying don't do it or whatever. But I just want you guys to know this isn't like a, you know, this isn't like a pity party thing. I'm not looking for you guys to like, you know, say anything magical. I always love comments. Like I say, comment down below, say what you want to say, do what you want to do. If you guys hate this video because you only want to see car stuff and you think I'm being a sap, that's fine. You can say that down below too. I can take it. I've had a lot worse things happen to me. But I want to be real with everybody. I want to be genuine with everybody, and we're doing that now. And like I said, this is my way of putting it out there and hoping that these things no longer have power over me and it can no longer hold me back. I have been quiet and I haven't been making videos, and it is because I've just kind of been like blue, if you will, guys. I've kind of just been down, and it's been not like sad or depressed or anything. I don't want to use the word depressed because I know that a lot of people do deal with depression, and I don't want to cheapen that for them because I don't think that what I've been dealing with would be necessarily depression. But I have definitely not been my best self. I have definitely not been my best Jared. Not to my wife, not to my kids, not to my friends, not to anybody. So to YouTube, to my friends, to my YouTube followers who have become friends, to really just anybody who's dealt with me in the past month, 2 months, especially those of you who have brought it to my attention that, man, you kind of just seem like you're lost in space, or you know, you kind of seem like you're not yourself. I apologize, and here's why. I don't want to sit and play my own violin here, and I don't want to make this like overly sappy, but again, I do want to kind of put this out there in hopes that it loses some of the power and some of the effect that it's had on me recently. Really quick story about my dad and my life and my upbringing and my family and stuff. Much to this dismay of my sister, I'm going to let you guys in on something that not a lot of people probably know. My father was a very good man. He worked hard. He provided me. I never went without. I wasn't like a spoiled rich kid. But I also never, you know, wanted for things. If I wanted something for Christmas, I typically got it. Whatever I wanted for my birthday, I typically got. You know, I didn't like go to football games and basketball games, and I didn't like have all the newest and whatever. But I would consider myself a fortunate kid. My dad worked hard. He provided for our family. The dude never missed a day of work in his life. But my dad struggled with addiction. My dad was a heavy alcoholic. He wasn't like a, get drunk, fall down drunk, at least not until the very end. But he drank, and he drank a lot. And I remember as a kid, not necessarily realizing that. I just thought he was always working in the garage. As I got older and found out when he was working in the garage, that was his way of kind of being on his own and sitting in the garage. And he had a pretty good stash down there, as evidenced by the dozens of empty bottles we found when we had to clean out the garage after my mom's passing. But it wasn't until I was like 18 years old that I really knew how bad it was. Once I was 18 years old and moved out of the house, I started hearing from my mom a lot about just how lonely she was and how bad my dad was. She was crying out for help. She wanted us to help. She wanted us to do something. I don't think she wanted us to feel bad for her, because that wasn't my mom's way. She was a really independent lady. She did a lot for people. I mean, she took care of my dad. As bad as she hated him at the end because of the drinking, she still cooked, cleaned, did his laundry, helped him up when he fell down drunk. I mean, man, she did everything for that dude. She is a saint. But, my dad wasn't like the go to your basketball games guy. He didn't go to my baseball games. He didn't play basketball with me in the backyard. I can remember one time that he played catch with me out in the yard. And he got mad because he tried to throw me a ground ball and it jumped up and hit me in the face. Looking back at it, I remember it really hurting my feelings and making me feel stupid. And looking back, it's probably because the dude was drunk and wanted to get back to his bottle or whatever. But I know my dad loved me. I felt loved as a kid. I can't say that my dad didn't abuse me. He didn't neglect me. Like I say, I never went without. So I'm not looking for pity here. I'm not looking for sympathy here. This is just me venting to you guys. This is just me. And I may not even end up posting this video. But in the event that I do, again, this is just my way of putting it into the cosmos in hopes that, now that it's out there, it loses some of its effect on me. Mom did a really good job of covering up all that. Mom made up for all that. She was there. She always went to those things. Again, she made sure we had everything, almost everything we wanted, outside of, my curfew sucked when I was a kid. I was that one kid who had to be in earlier than everybody. And that's my kid. I probably don't want to be quite as open with them maybe yet. They're only 7 and 5. But, she did a good job of making up and picking up the slack. Fast forward a lot of years, from the time that I'm 18 to the time that I was 34, which I was 34 when my dad passed away. I'm now 37. It was tough. My mom was a very lonely lady. I was an 18 to 25-year-old kid, 27-year-old kid before I met my wife, and I was off, playing. I was off having fun. I was off doing what, 18 to 27-year-old single dudes do. And I spent a lot of time, like mom and dad would call my phone, and I'd be like, oh, I'll call you later. And, I did a lot of that I now very much regret. But I was kind of just doing my own thing. And my mom, all that time, just stayed home with a drunk. And they quite literally never did anything. They didn't go out on their anniversaries. He didn't get her stuff for her birthday a lot of years. He, didn't really do much for her for Christmas. And all the while, she still, made sure that he had a good Christmas, and the kids always had a good Christmas. And she called all of us and took care of all of us. And when my sister was struggling and, went through divorce and stuff, my mom there was times where she, practically raised my sister's kids, so that my sister could work and still provide. And, she was a saint. She was an absolute saint. Put up with a lot. She put up with a lot. My dad, at the end, last few years of his life were really hard. He got to the point where he was just kind of like a mess. I was all he woke up at 10 or 11 because he was hungover, and he kind of just stumbled around the house. My mom and dad did not get along at the end. There was a lot. Oh, hold on. I think this is getting bright. There was a lot of resent on my mom's end, I think, toward my dad. And she probably was really grumpy to him as a result. So he was really grumpy with her back. The last couple, 2-3 years, it was kind of uncomfortable to even be around him a lot because you could just feel it. And they would even take shots at each other or be mean to each other. And I didn't like my kids watching that. So I didn't like my kids being around that a lot. So, there was some distance there that like I say, I very much regret now. But it's just what it was. You know, I felt like at the time I didn't want to teach that to my kids, and I wanted to, you know, show them something different. And I made the decision to kind of keep them away from a lot of that. But my dad had fallen down and hurt himself. He could never get himself to stop drinking. One night, my brother-in-law and I almost got him to go and get some help, but we just couldn't get him to go do it. And it just was a perpetuating cycle, you know. It was, he'd get drunk and fall down and hurt himself. He'd lay in bed for a month or two. My mom would wait on him hand and foot, and then once he was able to move around good enough again, it was right back to the bottle. As soon as he could get back down to the garage, he was right back to the bottle. So I mean, it was a lot of distance. And looking back at it, I did try to get him help. I did ask him to go and do some stuff. I did get him to try to go with me to car shows. I tried to talk him into going to he was a big NASCAR guy. That's why I'm a car guy. It's because of Dale Earnhardt. That's why I'm a Chevy guy. It's just, you know, it's all because of my dad. He's had a lot of influence on me. Taught me a lot of good stuff. Didn't really ever show me how to do stuff with my hands. Didn't really ever like take me and do anything like that. But I got a lot of lectures from him. So most of what he taught me through lectures. Man, when I'd get in trouble, he'd stand at my door and lecture me for like an hour. And I remember back then just thinking, oh my gosh, dude, will you just stop talking? And looking back at it now, somehow it seems like every one of those conversations was retained. It's mind-blowing to me that I remember them, but I do. And he taught me a lot. He taught me, you know, he taught me to be a man. He taught me a lot of good things. But, you know, as far as like being there, like for, you know, talk to me about my girlfriends or talk to me about my day or, you know, a lot of those things, that wasn't really a strong suit. But anyhow, we always said, you know, someday he's going to fall down and break his hip and die. And sure, I almost said sure is something, it's a bad word. Sure enough, my mom calls one night, it's late at night, and she says, you know, your dad fell down and hurt himself. I need you to come help me. And I was pretty frustrated, I won't lie, because we had tried and tried and tried, but I had already been down this road. He had fallen and hurt himself before, and I'd go get there. We'd try and talk him into going to hospital or try to talk him into going and getting help, and he wouldn't do any of it. And so it was basically just like beating my head against a wall, and it was like, you know, some of the most emotionally excruciating experiences of my life. And, you know, I didn't really want to go. She said, Jared, you know, I don't always call you when he falls down. I only call you when I need you. I've done a lot for you. I need you. So I went home. He was on the floor. He was hurt pretty bad. I could tell he was really hurt. If he moved at all, he would scream in pain. My mom wanted me to get him in the bed. I was losing my mind, you know, crying, mad, all the emotions. Like, I just remember having like almost like an out-of-body experience. I finally just reached down, got on my knees, tried to gently get my hands under him to pick him up, and he was laying on the not broken hip side because the other side hurt so bad. And when I finally went to pick him up, as soon as his body leaned back onto my body, I felt his stuff moving. I could feel that he was very badly hurt, and he was screaming at me to put him down. He said, son, you're killing me. And so I sat him back down gently. I had only gotten him just up to where I was holding him. I was still on my knees. I hadn't lifted up onto my feet yet. So I didn't have to go back that far to put him back down. So I gently sat him back down. My mom started in on him, and I'm not upset with her for this because I can only imagine what she went through. I only had to deal with it for moments at a time, and she had been dealing with it for years. But, you know, she started yelling at him because she was upset, and I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I broke down, and I remember standing up and looking down and saying, Dad, I love you. Mom, I love you. I can't do this. And I walked out. I left my dad laying there on his bedroom floor with a broken hip. There's not a lot I could have done really differently, but I still literally hate myself for that. A couple days go by, the home health and hospice people who had been helping him, because they had been there, they had to help him with some stuff. They came and were able to get him onto his bed. I think it wasn't until like the next day. By that time, I had gone to work that next day. Honestly, just kind of thinking it was going to be like every other time he hurt himself. He'll lay there and his body will either heal completely wrong or it'll kill him. Or maybe this will be the time he finally goes to the hospital. I mean, that was my hopes. My hopes was this would be the one time that he hurts himself so bad that he has to stop drinking. But that wasn't the case. my mom called and said, you know, your dad's dying. They came and did a mobile x-ray. His hip is broken. He will not go to the hospital. They even said that if he did go to the hospital, it's probably not going to help. His body won't, he's not strong enough to endure the surgery that it would take to fix a broken hip on a guy his age. He was 70 at the time and just not in good health because of how poorly he'd taken care of himself at the end. All his life, he was a really healthy guy. It was just at the end, it was just drunk, you know. I feel bad telling you guys that because he was a good dude, but it is what it is. I got to get it out there. I got to, like I say, it's got to stop haunting me. So at the end, I finally went back to the house. It was the next day or the day after that. And they were just, they were pumping him full of stuff to keep him from screaming and being in pain. And I was very upset with him at the time. I kept telling him, let me talk to my dad. And they just said, it's not humane of us to let him wake up and scream and yell because he's dying from a broken hip. So I had it out with the home health and hospice people. I did not like them for a long time. But I went into his room after they got him up onto his bed and got him off. He had rolled back onto the good side, or the good side. He had rolled back onto the side of his body that his broken hip wasn't on. And because of that, he'd been laying on his one arm for so long that his arm was like purple and swollen like 3 times the normal size. It was really gross. But they had gotten him onto his back and gotten a bunch more morphine and stuff into him to where he was comfortable again. And he was just laying there. And I sat at the end of his bed in a chair that's still in my basement. And I said as loud as I could so that he could hear me, I love you, Dad. And like nothing was wrong. He was able to say, I love you too. From there, it was pretty much, make sure you keep giving him this stuff so he doesn't wake up. And we just kind of had to slowly watch my dad die. So I won't get into all the other details because they get kind of ugly and whatever. And I kind of just essentially had to be there and watch my dad die for a couple days. Fast forward a year, my mom at this point had already had COPD. She was already in really bad health. She had gained a lot of weight because she was essentially going into congenitive, I think that's the word, congenitive heart failure as a result of the COPD. She wasn't getting enough oxygen. Her body just wasn't doing good. She was on oxygen all the time. She had a machine that basically did the breathing for her while she was asleep so that she could rest and sleep. She'd been in and out of the hospital a whole bunch of times. She was on tons of steroids, which also put more water weight on her. She got to the point where she couldn't take the diuretics they were giving her to take water off her because they gave her excruciating Charlie horses. She'd get them in her ribs and her legs and in her feet so bad that she just said, I don't care if I swell up and look like a balloon. I'm not taking those. They hurt. I'd go and we'd, go to, she loved going to Sizzler. We'd go and I'd take her to Sizzler. I remember the last time we went to Sizzler, it took everything she had to get into the Sizzler. And then, she just was like, I remember her saying, I can't do this anymore. We just can't keep doing this. So from then on, it was, we'd pick up food and go to her house and see her and stuff. And in and out of the hospital, like I mentioned a lot. The last time we went to the hospital, her doctor, who was an amazing man, came in and had the talk with her. He was basically like, Patty, I love you, and we've done everything we can do. I don't know what else to do anymore. I think it's time that we have the conversation about keeping you comfortable. Let's send you home. Let's keep you comfortable, and let's give up, essentially. The hardest part of that part was that she was not ready to go. I mean, that's the thing that bugs me the worst in all of this. My mom was not ready to go. She did not want to die. She wasn't scared to die. She just didn't want to die. She loved me and my sister. She loved our kids. She was such a cool lady. That's all she'd ever known. She had just been like our slave our whole lives. She was kind of a control freak. I won't lie. Mom, I love you. But she was kind of one of those ladies that just told you what you should do all the time. And I think the thought of her not being there to tell us what to do anymore was really hard for her to get her mind around. She just didn't want to go. She talked to the doctor for like an hour and just kept asking him, well, can't we just give me more steroids? And can't we just send me home? And is there a chance that I come back? And, at this point, we knew the writing was on the wall. She'd been this way for a couple years, 2 or 3 years, but it was significantly worse than it had ever been at this point. So after a while, we talked, and he walked out of the room and said, I'll let you talk to the family. And he talked to the family. And the first thing he said when he came back in was, you know what, Patty? I don't want to tell you this is your death sentence. I'm not ready to tell you that it's time to give up. If you don't want to give up, Patty, I won't give up. You want me to pump you full of steroids again and give you some more antibiotics and send you home again? I will do it. Let's do that. But I think that I really think you're there. I can't do anything. The biggest thing she was struggling with at this point, she was always, they call it oxygen hunger. She was just panicked all the time. She'd call me and say, I just can't breathe. I just can't breathe. And I'm like, well, duh, Mom. Like, you have COPD. Your lungs are done. Yeah, you can't breathe. We know that. But even with oxygen, even with her machine on, she basically got to the point where she had to be on, like, it was like an incubator. And if she wasn't on it, she couldn't breathe. So he essentially said, let's at least make you comfortable. Let's at least give you something to take the edge off so you're not panic-stricken because you can't breathe. I'm just warning you, Patty, when I give that to you, I think that little bit of your body being able to relax is going to be the thing that kills you. Like, I think your body's going to relax so much that I think you're going to pretty quickly start to slip away. So we take her home, and for a couple of days, we were just giving her just the ittiest bittiest amount of morphine, and I can't remember what the other stuff. They were syringes because we had to put them in her mouth so that she'd kind of swallow them. We didn't want to be sticking her with needles and stuff. And it was hard. There was a day or two where we kind of felt like she might be okay. Her brother and sister came and visited her, and those were like the 3 best hours that she'd had in probably a year. My brother, or her brother-in-law, or not her brother-in-law, her brother, my uncle, I remember him sitting in the living room with us and looking at me and saying, Jared, I'm having a hard time getting my mind around the fact that your mom's dying right now. Like, she's doing so good. And I remember at the time kind of being frustrated because she was still mentally, I think, not ready, and she was fighting it. And I remember thinking, man, like, she looks up to you. You're the one that needs to tell her it's okay to let go. But, what he saw in her, I don't blame him for saying it. And they all, left, and she was just as happy as she could be and spent time with them. And I remember walking them to the door, walking everybody out, hugging them, saying our goodbyes. When I walked back into the house, she was doing her little nebulizer thing where it's basically like a steroid she breathes in that helps the lungs open up just a little bit, that would give her a little relief. She was doing her nebulizer, and I remember the second she was done with it, she looked at me, and it looked like she was dead on her feet. She just said, get me back to my bed. So we got her into her room. She got her machine on. We waited a few minutes. She pulled the mask down and just said, Jared, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I'm dying. I can't breathe. So we gave her some more morphine to calm her down, and that was kind of like the beginning of the end. It was, a long 2 or 3 days after that, if I remember right. And we basically, it was just kind of keeping her comfortable after that. She woke up a couple times after that wanting to go to the bathroom. She hadn't eaten or drinking anything in a few days. I remember the last time my brother-in-law and I were able to get her into the bathroom, she just sat there for a long time, didn't do anything, and was like falling off the toilet. We had to hold her up. She was kind of big at this point, really swollen with a lot of water weight. At this point, her heart was failing worse than ever, so she had gained even more water weight just in that last week. She was in a bad way. My brother-in-law got her into the bedroom for the last time, got her onto her bed for the last time, and me and my sister and my brother-in-law had to have a conversation where we basically were like, okay, this is it. It's time to really probably not let her keep waking up in absolute terror that she's suffocating, because that's what she was doing. It just wasn't we were probably being selfish by wanting to keep her there. So this is the part that, aside from me walking over my dad when he was laying there with a broken hip, this is like the second most haunting memory that I have in my life. And it's essentially, I basically had to be the one to go and turn off her oxygen. And I couldn't just turn it off and like walk away. So I had to turn it off and then go sit and listen to her for, I can't remember how long it was, but it wasn't very long, but 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Listen to her body just try to bring in a little bit of air with each breath, and it was horrible. And then she passed away. She stopped breathing, and that was that. So those two things, guys, honestly have really, really been weighing heavily on me recently. In the spirit of full disclosure, I also have let the car thing really, really get to me in the last couple months. The car has been a huge pile and has had nothing but issues in the last couple of years. and it's affected my relationships with the people at JDP, and I hate that. It's caused them a lot of grief. It's caused me a lot of grief. It's all just been really emotionally taxing on me, and I have not been in a good place. I just haven't. So I have now, JDP has reached out, and we took the car back in last week. They did a few final things to the car, and we kind of just agreed to go our separate ways at this point. But they did offer to get the car in there and deal with a couple of things that I was asking for them to deal with before we did that. So I am appreciative that they stepped up to do those final things for me before, you know, we essentially parted ways. So it feels like I've just lost a lot of people that I really have cared about and have been a big part of my life recently. And it did bug me, and it did get me down, guys, and it did keep me from making videos, and it did keep me from being my normal happy-go-lucky Jared. And it got to the point where, like I say, you know, I couldn't keep pretending it wasn't happening. People were starting to notice. People were starting to say, hey man, you cool? Like, what's going on? Are you all right? You haven't been uploading videos. And at first it was just, hey, you haven't uploaded as many videos. And then it was like, man, are you okay? Like, you don't seem like yourself. And to the point where, you know, like, I probably haven't been the best husband. I haven't been the best dad. And, you know, if something had to give, something had to give. And so my wife said, you know what, honey, I think you should make a video. I think you should just put it all out on Front Street. I think you should go be vulnerable for a minute and just kind of tell people where you're at. Your viewers always talk about how you're real and how you're genuine. Go be real and go be genuine. So that's what this video was. For those of you who are still watching this, thank you. I don't need people to like send me stuff. I don't need people to you know, like, don't get me wrong. Like, you guys want to leave comments that are uplifting or whatever, go ahead. I'm not saying, you know, don't say anything, but I'm also just letting you guys know this isn't a pity party thing. I've still been super blessed. I have amazing kids who are healthy. I have an excellent wife. I have family. I have a lot of things. I have freedom. I live in Utah, in America. I mean, there's people quite literally risking their lives to get into a situation that I'm in. So I do appreciate and respect that. I do have a lot to be grateful for, and I am a very blessed man. I just wanted to be completely upfront with people about the things that I struggle with. Again, I won't call it depression, because I think that cheapens the argument. I think that takes away from people that probably deal with the bigger struggles than I have been dealing with. But I also kind of wanted to make this for those of you out there maybe that do struggle with your own stuff. I think that it's kind of like macho of dudes to like not want to talk about stuff like this. And I did that for the last 3 years of my life, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't been healthy. It hasn't been what I should have been doing. And that it's evidenced by the fact that bottling those things up has now like become almost a coffin of sorts. It's kept me from doing the things I love. It's kept me from interacting with the people I care about. It's kept me from making new relationships. I'm not saying this to like brag. I'm not saying this to like sound cool, because I only have 4,000 subscribers. I'm not like this big YouTuber, but I have made a lot of really cool relationships, a lot of really good friends, some of whom I've never seen in person. But a bunch of you guys out there, and you guys know who you are, and I love you guys. I've got a bunch of friends all over the country now. I've got a friend that calls me and talks to me, or not calls me, but messages me on Instagram all the time from Dubai. It's just really, really cool to have all these people reaching out and making relationships with me. And recently, this stuff that I've been dealing with has been making me pull back from all of that. So this video was about me, like I said, owning my story so that it no longer has power over me. I don't know yet if that's what this will do, because I'm just recording it. But I'll be honest with you guys, saying this on this camera right now for 30 minutes, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been 30 minutes. I'm sorry, guys. It really has felt good, and I think that this will be a positive step in the right direction. And I'll now be able to go back to making videos about, you know, fun and uplifting stuff, and not like boring and drab stuff. I don't want to, again, I don't want a pity party. I don't want to be a negativity guy. I've never been a negativity guy. I've always been like a, you know, stay positive, be happy-go-lucky, don't tell people about your problems. But I think that, like with anything else, that can go too far, and that can start to be a bad thing. It's, you know, too much of anything is a bad thing, and too much of me bottling all this up has become a bad thing for me. So for those of you guys out there that also struggle with stuff, please, if you guys deal with stuff, tell me down below, like what bugs you guys, what maybe has kept you guys from being yourselves, what have you dealt with that have been really, really hard to overcome, and maybe how you overcame that. Like I say, I don't need sympathy from you guys, but if you guys have some ideas about mental exercises or things that I could maybe do when I start getting down about those kind of things, please, by all means, tell me in the comments down below what you guys think. Also, tell me in the comments if you guys hated this video, if this was just totally out of place, and if you guys think that, you know, I shouldn't have made this video or I shouldn't have put this video on my channel, by all means, guys, put that in here too. But a big part of my life is my wife, my kids, and my car. And I do want to be able to make consistent content. I want to be able to put up multiple videos a week on YouTube. In order for me to do that, though, I think I'm going to have to bring a little more of me to the channel. I don't want to make videos where I'm telling you guys about my problems. That's probably, well, I wouldn't say never going to happen again, but the chances of you watching another video about, you know, somber stuff like this is probably slim to none. But I would like to bring more of like my family stuff into it. I would like to kind of show you guys a little more about, you know, what makes me tick, and you know, what has made me a car guy, and what I think being a car guy is. Because I don't like the stigma that goes with a lot of car guys. There's a lot of guys here locally that are pretty big D-bags. I'm just gonna say it. There's a lot of dudes, and I don't know if it's like this where you guys live, but there's a lot of, for whatever reason, it seems like it's mostly drag racers. I don't know what it is, but just a lot of dudes who are just like, they're pound their chests, be dicks to people. And I'm not that guy. I'm just not. I've never been that guy. I never want to be that guy. Like on the Camaro forums or on Facebook, like somebody asks a question. You guys probably all know, you guys have probably all seen this. You ask a stupid question and man, you get flamed. And I've never understood why people I've never understood why people like being mean to people or taking shots at people. So I kind of want to show you a different side of car guys, and I would love to bring a little more of like my family life into it. I know I've got to keep the message consistent. I know I've got to keep this channel primarily about cars, but I kind of want this channel to be about me, be about the RedRacer. You know, I want to be able to incorporate more of that into my videos so that I can bring more content. A lot of the times I don't bring videos as much as I want to because I'm a huge family guy. I spend a lot of time just kicking it with my kids. I do. I mean, we just hang out a lot. There are days where and it's probably been because of where I've been at mentally and emotionally recently, but there's a lot of days where I just want to spend time with my kids. Like I find comfort in just hanging out, you know, laying on the couch and playing with my kids, or, you know, playing a game on their iPad with them, or going on bike rides, or whatever it might be. But in the comments down below, guys, let me know if I was to bring a little more, not a lot, but a little more Family Guy stuff into the channel, would that negatively affect my channel? Should I start a new channel to be able to vlog about stuff like that? Or would you guys be okay with that? Would you guys still like those videos? Would you guys still watch those videos if it was some car stuff, but once in a while I sprinkle in a little Jared the Family Guy stuff? Let me know what you guys say down below. Like I mentioned, guys, I put a note in here, and I want to say this one more time. 2 more things. Be you bravely. A couple of people that I really, really care about, I bounced this idea off of them, and I'm glad they said this. I respect the hell out of them for saying it, but both of them were kind of like, yeah, I don't think I'd do it, man. I don't think I'd make that video. And ultimately, I just decided that for me, I thought it was going to be a good thing. I thought it was going to be, it may not be a big video hit for me. I don't think it will be. Honestly, it's probably one of like the least watched videos I have, but I thought it would be a good video for the people who've religiously followed the channel, always comment on the channel, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might be. And for those that have reached out and said, hey man, are you cool? Is everything okay? I'm worried about you. So to those of you guys that have done that, thank you. To those of you that thought this video was a bad idea, thank you guys too. I love you guys to death. I respect the hell out of you. And that's why I called and asked your opinion. Sorry I didn't listen to it. But I always say be you bravely, and that's what I'm doing right now, is being me bravely. I'm a little bit of a tenderoni. I am kind of a little bit of a softie sometimes, and that's what I'm doing right now, is being me. So, and again, guys, we all have our struggles. We all have our challenges. And be more willing to let your guard down. You know, I think that a lot of us bottle it up to the point where, like, it causes us problems. And if you're just that hard ass that doesn't need to do that and doesn't have those issues and, you know, doesn't need to say it to people, I get it. But hopefully you guys don't think I'm too big of a snowflake because I made this video. So thank you guys so much. To any of you guys out there dealing with stuff, talk to somebody, say something to somebody, reach out to the people you love. And I'm going to have lots more videos coming up, guys. I am going to break out of this slump. I have to. For me, for my wife, for my kids, for everybody who knows me. They deserve a better me than the me I've been recently. So I apologize to you guys for going soft on you. I apologize to the people who have kind of fell off of the grid too. And I apologize to those of you who, friends and family alike, who haven't seen as much of me recently. And when you haven't seen me, it hasn't been my best self. So I love you guys. Thank you, everybody who supports me. Thank you to everybody who's going to continue watching the channel. Hopefully I don't lose like 100 or 200 or 1,000 subscribers because I made a video showing you guys that I'm a puss sometimes. But I love you all. Much more stuff coming soon, guys. I am going to put a big smile on my face and keep going. I got to trudge forward. This is the plan. This RedRacer video thing is going to be a big deal. We just hit 4,000. I think this year is going to be a big year, and it's only going to be a big year because I can snap out of this and roll on. So here we go. Keep coming back, guys. Thank you so much for the love and support. I love you all. Jared RedRacer, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.